All right. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in to Big Tech Talks. We're super excited today. Pavel, how you doing?
I am good. Thank you. How are you?
Pavel's doing great. Pavel is at 100% right now, right?
As always.
um, so today I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about product design and the research and all the analysis that goes into it. So Pavel, how about you get us started? I know there's a lot of different steps involved in the entire product design process, but we're really just going to focus on one today. Is that right?
Yes. So product design is a very large discipline. There is several steps related to product design. It's often referred to as empathize, which is the research part. When you learn about the people for whom you are designing, then you have the define part, where you create a point of view that is based on user needs and insights from the research. Then you have ideate part, when you brainstorm and come up with as many ideas for solutions to the problems as possible. Then you prototype, you build a prototype or a series of prototypes to test your hypothesis and test. You return to your users for the feedback. So today, we're going to focus on the first part, which is emphasize. But this is not really...
Oh, do you mean empathize, right? Just want to
empathize, yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
I felt that. So I want you to know I am an empath. So I have this is going to be good for me because I have a lot of feelings and I feel other people's feelings very well. So
so the research is called this way is because you have to empathize with the user to understand their feelings, their attitudes, their goals, their motivations. That's why we call it. But you can call it a research, which is a synonym.
And can I still empathize with the user if I hate the user?
Then probably you're not the right person to do the research.
I shouldn't do product design? Okay.
I don't think so. If you hate the user. I don't know why you would hate the user.
Some of them are just, it depends on who you might work for a company. You're like, I don't like the people who buy this product. I don't like them.
Then probably you should change your career.
I think
or the company. So I wanted to mention that before starting the design process, before the research phase, you do some pre-work. And this is usually done by a product manager. This is setting the vision of the product and the strategy, how you're gonna get to that vision, how you're gonna execute this vision. So everything we are going to talk about, it all has roots in this vision and the product strategy, which is usually created by the product manager.
Got it.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how we actually do the research, how we're gonna prepare for the product design process. The first step is to perform the research. And we have to consider user research, which is the part when you learn about who your users are. Then a market research to understand who your competitors are. And then you translate those into tools that help you create a design of the product.
All right, so let's also talk about, like you said, how are we actually going to do this research?
Okay, so research is, let's start with research is more science than art. Usually when you think about UX designers, you think about the art part. We are designing products, we're designing user interfaces, we define experiences. The research is actually hard science. We need data to prepare our products, to prepare us to define the product and the experiences. We have in our arsenal, we have tools to actually perform user research. We can describe them as quantitative tools that we use to explore user opinions and attitudes. We use qualitative tools to test our opinions through data exploration. We have behavioral tools that we use to observe users, to watch what they do, and attitudinal tools that we use to listen to the user. We explore their attitudes and opinions. So I would like to go through examples of the tools we are using for each of these groups. So I wanted to start with qualitative methods. We have several kinds of tools in our arsenal. These are interviews, contextual inquiries, or card sorting. So when we get to qualitative methods, we have to start with determining research goals and questions that we're going to ask our users. So you start with describing a goal of your research, what you want to learn from your users. What is the end goal of having this research? So for example, you want to understand how users use particular kind of applications. So for example, let's say you are building an application for video conferencing. We have Zoom, we have Google Meet, and let's say you have an idea for another product. So for example, your goal of your research might be finding an answer how your users use video conferencing product, when they are using it, in what context. Are they using it for business? Are they using it for personal reasons? What are they communicating with family? This can help you build better products. And from the goal, from research goal, you derive questions that you're going to ask to your users that you are conducting the research on. So in case of an interview, you can have different kinds of interviews. You can have either an IDI, it's called in-depth interview. It's usually performed with one person when you have one-on-one with a person that you invited for the interview, for the research. And on the other hand, you have focus groups, which usually consist of 6 to 12 people, where you when you ask the group your questions about the product or features. Then you have contextual inquiries. I've done that a couple of times. Contextual inquiries means that you see the context the user is in when you interview the user. So just to give you an example, the one I've done, I invited several users, and I had sessions with each of them separately when I prepared a number of tasks in the application that I was researching. So I've asked those users to perform these tasks while they're sharing their screen with me, and they commenting of what they are doing and why they are doing this. So I was able to see what they are doing in their environment, in their desk screen, in the office or home, whatever. And I was able to observe what they are doing, hear their opinions, and how they perform the task, whether they are actually able to reach their goal or not, and what was the problem. Another example of a qualitative method is card sorting. Card sorting is the easiest and the cheapest way to perform user research. So it's literally about having a number of cards of paper. When you put words or sentences in those cards. And these correspond somehow to your application, like to features of your application or elements on the screen. So you ask users to group those words together. somehow you want to find the key, what they are thinking about those words, how they are grouping those words together. So you use this card sorting. Usually, you use them to create an information architecture, for example. And
could I get a better understanding of that? Like, what's something that might be on a card, or like something particular that someone might see?
Okay, well, it depends on your application. So I mentioned it depends on the application that you are researching. So I mentioned the video conferencing application. So for example, you put words like invitation. That means that you invite people to participate in the video call. Then camera configuration, audio configuration, dial in, end call, raise your hand, for example. Basically, features of your application.
Okay.
And then you ask the users to group them together and ask them, and then you ask why this grouping makes sense. So you put the title above the group. Like, for example, you can define this way a number of features that are crucial for your application while on video call, like for video call application, like which features to put in the main screen, for example, and which can be hidden away in some options or whatever. So this is what basically the information architecture is. It is what goes where. So which feature, which information, and the information, it can be a text, it can be a picture, it can be an icon, it can be a button. Which information goes where, and that's how you create the information architecture.
All right, so how about we move on to the next part of this. Let's talk about quantitative methods.
So the first important part of set of qualitative tools are surveys. So you probably use a survey before in your web application or any application that asks you for an opinion. So you prepare for these similarly to a user interviews. You define the research goal and you define the number of questions, but this is where it derives from user research. So one big difference is that it's usually like interaction with interviewer. So once you prepare the questions and you create the form for the users, it's out there, and you don't really have a way to steer the talk, the conversation with the user. So it's only the thing that you have defined in the questions. This is often done remotely, but it can be on a sheet of paper left in the office. So that's another big difference. It is used when what users do is more important than what they say. So with surveys, you can ask either open-ended question or closed question, like, what is your opinion about this functionality? And you have Likert scale from 0 to 5, for example. That's a closed question. Or you can have open-ended question, like, would you like to tell us something more? So if you are more interested of what users do, then you would use a survey.
Okay. And you probably have to is there a lot of incentivizing to actually get people to do these, right? To spend time on this.
So it's very hard. Actually, in any kind of research, you usually have to give something to users. So when you do a user interviews, you usually give them a gift cards. It's often also with surveys that you give them a coupon for Amazon or whatever, just to give them the reason to do the research. It's very hard to convince users to actually participate in user research, and usually you organically, without any coupons or whatever that you can give them, usually people that don't like your product or really like your product would do this organically. But this is like 10 and 10% on each side.
Yeah.
But you are missing all other people in between. So
I'm kind of thinking about doing this when I in the dating process. I'm thinking of if I just approach someone, I'm gonna offer a coupon if they talk to me. All right, we're good.
Okay, that's. But you can try. You can do a research whether.
I'm gonna do research on that. That's it. You do.
Please do tell me. I do have a hypothesis.
I have market research, and I think if I add more coupons,
I have a hypothesis how this may end up like.
Oh, don't tell me that part. Right.
Okay. But please do tell me when you do the research.
So I guess we should probably touch more on the analytics part, right? Of once we've gotten more of this data.
Oh yeah. So analytics is the most abundant way of performing quantitative research. The most known product is obviously Google Analytics. There are more products, but user analytics is well known. So it's often used when you're working with executives or decision makers, because you can create reports based on data that you can show them so they can make product decision or business decision about your product. And analytical tools, if they are configured properly, and by that I mean when you set goals in the application, goals as a business goals of what your application is doing, when you configure proper data gathering, like events that are gathered through this tool, but also when you clean the data properly, this can be very powerful tool to discover user behaviors and trends in your application. By data cleaning, I mean, for example, you can configure all analytical tools to filter out the traffic from your office, for example. So the traffic from your employees won't affect the analysis. And depending on the company size, it can be actually quite huge portion of the traffic. So you would definitely like to avoid analyzing this data. It's actually much more to that than cleaning data than this. But this is just one of the examples.
And so analytics is basically, before we even do the analytics, we are usually forming some sort of idea or hypothesis, right?
Yes, but you captured it in the analytical strategy. So you actually go through an exercise of creating an analytical strategy for your application. So you work with a product manager, and product managers understands the business side, the purpose of the project, business purpose of the project, and you work with them to define what is important to analyze in your application. And you create a spreadsheet. It can be a document, it can be a spreadsheet that actually describes specifically what you are analyzing and why, and through which method, like whether it's going to be an event attached to a specific functionality on your page, or is it analyzed through configuring goals in your analytical tools, or some other way.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
And yeah, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
And part of the analytical tools, quite often, not always, but quite often, is A/B tests. A/B tests or AN tests. So these tests test two or more variants of the same. It can be screen, it can be part of the screen, like specific UI region. So you can test different approaches to the same functionality. So just to give you an example of what that is. So let's say you have an application and you are trying to design a login form to your application. At some point you have a login form, and user can go to the next step only after they log in. So you may come up with a number of different approaches to how to design a login form. So it's easier for the user to log into your application, but you don't know which one's going to be the best one. You may form some hypothesis that, okay, this variant A probably gonna be the one that you would go with, but you really don't want to guess because you really can't know. Something that works for Amazon, for example, for their login page, it doesn't automatically mean that it's going to work for your users and for your context and your application. So you may want to test different approaches, design approaches, implement it in your application and perform A/B tests. So for each variant, you assign different users for each design, and once the specific user is selected for this variant always stays with them throughout the experiment, and you just measure the goal completion for each variant, and then you pick the variant that actually gives you the most conversion rate. So, for example, in our login page, the conversion rate is measured by users logging into your application. So, for each variant, you define that the goal is to increase this specific goal's conversion rate. So, after, say, a week, a month of running the experiment, then you start seeing the data. Like variant A has a 30% probability of logging in the user, while variant B has only 20%. So you have a clear winner. So that's why you use A/B tests.
It's like, it's like evolution. Like, did this thing survive? No. All right, we're moving on. We're going to go in this direction. All right.
You can think about it this way, yes.
Time to grow some wings. Oh, I need a longer neck. Okay. I need a beak. I don't know what animal I'm describing exactly. A bird, I guess.
I guess the best. Okay, let's talk about market research, which is another part of how you conduct research for a product. So we talked about user research, which is very valuable to define the person you are creating a product for. And then you do market research. And you do this through a competitive audit. It informs how others approach the same problem. But there is a very important to remember that competitive research is not about copying solutions. It's about understanding how your competitors approach the problem. It might be that most products in this space are working very similarly, look similar, work similar, but there might be like huge differences. It's not about looking for solution to your problem, to your user's problem. It's about to understand what others are doing and maybe get inspired at the same time. But it's about researching what else is on the market. So how do you do this? You focus on a goal. What you want to research? Like with every research, there's always a goal. So for example, my goal when I was doing my competitive research was compare competitors' approach to visual API design. This is something that I've done researchly literally just a couple of months ago. So in the next step, after defining a goal, I compiled a list of competitors that I want to research. So how do you do that? In my case, I use the Gartner's report for API management. And there is actually a list of all companies that that do API management. And after that, I started collecting the data. So I register in each application, in each platform that was mentioned in the Gartner report. I created my account and I started using the application just to see how they approach to visual API design, which is consistent with my goal. So I prepared a spreadsheet. When I started capturing information about what I discovered through this research. So, for example, what was my first impression when using the application? This is actually very important. When you just opened up, what was your first impression? How you interacted with the application. So what are the features of the application? You can list the key features of the application. You check the accessibility, whether their products are accessible. We talked about accessibility on our channel before. It's very important. Then you describe user flows, general user flows that are related to your goal. So how users get to a point when they can start designing an API, or how they create an endpoint, whatever. And another one would be a navigation, how you navigate through the application, whether there are problems with navigation, it's easy. Another thing I wanted to capture was the visual design. What is the brand identity, which is whether it's consistent. Is it the same on the mobile website? Is it the same as in the desktop website? And compared to, for example, a mobile application, is there a brand identity consistent between different touch points? Then the content of the application. What is the tone they communicate with the user? Are they direct? Are they official? What is the descriptiveness of the application? Is it like very wordy? Are there like a long descriptions that are boring users, or is it to the point? So you captured all of this information, and then you create a report. And in the report, it's usually directed for decision makers, this competitive report, or other or product designers, where you describe the competitors' landscape. Who are the competitors? Then you list their strengths, what they did right. This is very subjective. This is according to you, what they did right. And then what are their weaknesses? Where did they do wrong? Like, for example, an application is not accessible. It can be used without a mouse, for example. Mm-hmm. Then the gap list. It's the gap list between your product that you have the imagination of to their product. So what this product, the other products have that you are not planning to have. And then opportunities. What did they do wrong or they are missing that you will think that you will get the competitive advantage? So that's basically the market research. And it's also very important to have it done so you understand the landscape of your product.
Got it. So you're really breaking down all these different elements that you're seeing from the competitors.
Yes.
And just like really like with a fine, like a fine comb, just like, okay, this is how they do this.
Yeah.
All right. So after we do this competitive audit, after we've kind of collected as much as we can about the competitor and what they're doing, now we start analyzing, right?
Yeah, this is the time when you have all this information. This is when you start analyzing and using the data. So what do you use the data for? So you build so you use the data to create tools that you later on use to design your product or a range of products. If you're building a platform, if you're designing a platform. So these tools help you design your products later. So these are personas, the job to be done per framework, user journeys, and pain points. So we start with user personas. So you use qualitative insights to create a portrait of your users. So it's not like a real person. You don't actually base it on a real person, but it's a collection of common traits of the users, of your user, if that makes sense. So you take the research that you've done on your users, you look for common traits, you use this to build a persona. So you use the persona every single time when you design a new feature in your application or a feature in your application or your application. Use the persona to emphasize with a number of users. So use this persona to make that happen, to allow you to do this efficiently. But there is more tools. You create user journeys. A user journey is a series of experiences a user has as they achieve a specific goal. So how do you do this? So for each step, you list a number of tasks involved to reach this each step. Then you describe what user feels for each step when they are achieving each step, and what are the opportunities for you to make it better. So, for example, your goal of user journey is to buy snacks before getting into a movie theater. So you are arriving at the movie theater and you want to buy snacks before getting into the movie. So you have several steps. You have to find the bar. You have to figure out which snacks to buy. You have to purchase the snacks, get into the ticketed zone with those snacks, and then enter the theater. So for each steps, you have to describe each step that is required, sub-step that is required to get there. So to find the bar, you have to, I don't know, look around, check the directory, get to the bar, and so on. And then you describe the feelings that user have. It might be, for example, you may be feeling confused when you get to the movie theater that you've never been before. You might be confused because you don't know where to go to find the bar. And what are the opportunities for each step? What can be done better? Whether probably you should put a directory right after the entrance to the movie theater so the users are not lost. You can do the same thing for your application, and you use user journeys to describe the experience that the user have while working with your application.
Got it.
And the last tool that you create after research I wanted to mention is you being able to identify pain points. So a pain point is any UX issue that frustrates the user and blocks the user from getting when they need it, when they need. So we call it, in my organization, we call it broken journeys. So a journey that cannot be completed. So you have the user journey that we just described, and the journey breaks at some point. So for example, finding a contact email in the e-commerce website. Have you ever tried to find a contact on Amazon website?
Oh, it's always a pain. Even
yeah. So you open like 10 tabs trying to find the contact information to the customer service, and they will offer you like 10 different ways to solve your problem that is not really your problem.
Yeah.
I would call it a pain point. That's actually a problem for the user. So another effect of doing a user research is learning what are their pain points. Usually this is related to either other products that they are using, or if you already have a digital product out there or any other kind of product, they can describe that experience pain points with your products. So in short, that was what I wanted to talk about research and data analysis. There's definitely more to that. And probably we gonna create more videos around research and data analysis in the context of a product design. But as an overview, I think we touched quite a lot.
Well, Pavel, as always, thank you so much for all your wisdom and insights. I'm definitely going to be conducting some more research on my dating prospects and seeing if I can apply some of this research and data analysis to that. We'll see how that goes. We'll update everybody.
I'm gonna be very happy to learn about your findings.
If you like the video, please like it, subscribe, comment down below if there's something you want to hear us talk about or something you have a question about. We will be active in the comments, so please get down there if you haven't already. And with that, I think we'll sign off. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye.